Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. In today's video we're going to take a look at the Pharaoh from VDK Knives. And VDK is a company owned by Vlad. He has worked in conjunction with We Knives of China for, I don't know, maybe at least a year now to essentially produce his own designs and, essentially use their degree and level of fit and finish and come out with unique knives. So this is a little Persian kind of everyday carry knife. Small, compact, fairly lightweight, a lot of nice design details in here. So we'll go through the specs, overall impressions and details just as always. It does ship with a little padded pouch. And I still have the first knife that Vlad produced, which is called the War Admiral. So you guys may recall this model here from a prior video. It's this behemoth style, or behemoth cleaver style knife. And then this third model here is obviously a much smaller Persian style. The second model that he produced was, I think, called Pioneer of the Nile. Size-wise, it was right in between these two, but these are the two that I have. So anyways, let's move the War Admiral out of the way, and we'll jump into the specs, overall impressions, and details, just as usual. So for size comparison, again, we have this dollar bill right here. And then I do have a pair of two per viewer demand, hopefully to shed some light on the size here. And we're going to go through the specs as stated on the website, and then I'm going to plot the calipers here, and we'll talk about at least the blade length here, kind of per my interpretation of it. So specs per the website: 3-inch blade, handle length with my calipers were 3.9 inches. Overall should be somewhere around 6.5. Blade thickness is 0.16 inches. Does obviously use carbon fiber bolsters here with a titanium handle, S35VM blade steel, ceramic bearing, ceramic detent. It does use a flipper and a thumb stud for deployment. And obviously it's kind of a smaller everyday carry style type of knife. So that's the size comparison right there. Let's move these things out of the way, pull out my calipers here, and let's talk about a couple more specs. It does weigh in on my scale at 3.63 ounces, so sub 4 ounces there. Now the stated blade length of 3 inches, if we pull this thing all the way out to 3 inches here, we're actually getting from the tip all the way to essentially the tang of the blade where it meets the stainless steel lock insert of the lock bar. Now if we're measuring just, well, what I would consider the actual blade length here, and hopefully those of you who need sub 3-inch knives for legal purposes of your whatever local jurisdiction is, I'm measuring this one at, at most maybe 2.7 inches. So again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to give you guys any legal advice. I don't know how your local jurisdiction measures blade lengths, but to me, that looks like a 2.7 inch blade. So again, hopefully that's helpful. That's how I'm measuring this one, 2.7 inches. Again, I don't know how your local jurisdiction does it, but that does put it in within reach of a lot more of you guys who, again, do have to be under 3 inches. So yeah, those are the specs. Handle thickness here, let's double check that one. I don't think I mentioned that spec, but 0.57 for the handle thickness. It is contoured. We do have these beautiful carbon fiber bolsters. You have a titanium back spacer here. You do have a lanyard bar at the back that's protected from the blade by the back spacer, which is a nice touch. It's also out of the way so you don't have a hole in these beautiful carbon fiber bolsters. Milled pocket clip, stainless steel lock insert, and again you do have multiple opening methods here on this knife. So yeah, overall impressions, it's a small knife obviously, but it fills the hand really well. So that curved handle here, I can get all 4 fingers on it, and then my thumb rests very comfortably on the back of the blade. I can, in theory, choke all the way back here. Moderately comfortable, but obviously my preferred grip is, like so. But yeah, so I mean, it's a small knife. It handles much larger than it actually is. I don't know if you guys are fans of Persian style knives, but I'm a huge fan of Persians. I've had the Benchmade Bedlam. I've had the Spyderco Lacy Zabla folder. I had a custom from Shane Atwood, which I absolutely miss, which was called the Small Rhino, which was Persian style. So I've had and that's only the ones I can remember off the top of my head. I know I've had more, but big fan of Persian styles. The fit and finish on this is excellent, as expected from We Knives, so really no surprise there. They're doing a really, really good job. And it flips well, it handles well, it cuts well, tons of belly for, cutting tasks. Is this ideal for food prep with that small of a blade? I mean, maybe, maybe not. Again, I mean, all of you guys are watching, you have your own preference for blade length. This may or may not work for you, but it does handle much larger than it actually is due to the kind of that Persian blade shape there. Very ergonomic in my hand, and I really like it. It's nice to come across sub 3-inch knives that I don't feel like I'm giving up a lot on, I mean, I generally carry 3.5 to 3.75, but this one carries larger. So anyways, fit and finish is excellent, very pleased overall, love Persians. Again, you guys may or may not. So let's take a look at the blade finish. He's had a couple different iterations. This is called the satin. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pick up all the detail of this blade finish, but it's almost like I don't know, it's like a super fine satin. It's like a bead blast satin type of combo. I don't think the camera's gonna be able to pick up the finish very well, but it's quite nice. I don't know, it's a beautiful finish. I don't know how they achieve this one, but one of the nicest satin finishes I've seen. As you can see, it's somewhat reflective. But yeah, the 0.16 inch blade stock. Again, fairly thin, which is nicer for a smaller knife. You don't need a huge chunky blade stock for a small knife like this, and does use a saber grind, half height, full flat grind essentially. Comes down to a very keen edge. Speaking of which, in case you guys are wondering, let's take a measurement here for right behind the edge. On camera, 0.037 here. And that's where I've got the caliper. So hopefully that gives you guys an idea. Again, it's a very nicely finished blade. The jimping up top is actually moderately grippy. Works quite well, but again, I'm typically grabbing it like so. The thumb studs are nice and grippy. Really easy to use. Yeah, I think I prefer them to the flipper tab on this little knife. It just really fires out with authority, although the flipper tab, which has jimping here, does work fairly well. So I think, yeah, if you put pressure here on the lock bar, that does slow down the flipping action with the flipper tab, but it does not impede it. It'll still open, just not as fast. So anyways, works very well. It's very, very smooth here on the ceramic bearings. But yeah, all right. So bolster lock, essentially what that is you have a bolster over a frame lock called a bolster lock. It serves as the over travel protection, so you don't hyperextend the lock bar here. I don't know if there's a secondary, no, there's not a secondary over travel stop, so it just uses the bolster, so you can't push it further than the bolster. So they call it a bolster lock. It still has a stainless steel lock insert, which is very cool, and it obviously creates a higher degree of symmetry over a standard frame lock because the sides, for the most, aside from the line here for the cutout, look identical. So very nice transition between materials. Everything is sculpted, which of course is a nice touch and makes it very comfortable. That's how the bolsters are fitted here to the titanium. And then again, you've got a really nice back spacer with kind of a gear pattern. I already showed you guys the lanyard bar here, but again, it helps with that symmetry. It doesn't have a big hole in there. If you want to use a lanyard, it's there. If you don't, it's not obtrusive in the slightest. So You know, props for doing that. And yeah, and it's also protected from the blade, which is very important. I've seen a lot of knives that do not do that well. So nice detail. Pocket clip works perfectly well. Thank goodness there is enough of a gap for jeans. Some of the other Wii models have not had an adequate gap in here for jeans, and so this one is very well done. Single screw construction or adherence to the frame, so obviously they milled a pocket down into titanium. Lockup is actually very early on this knife. It's probably around 10%, but it's completely solid. I'm pushing down really hard on it. It's not going anywhere, so yeah. Anyways, I really have no worries. Again, a knife in this size, I'm not going to do anything stupid like prying with it, so hopefully you guys aren't, but again, I know that I've heard stories about some of the different knives that come back for warranty work from you know, people like Vlad or Liang Ma, and some of the things that people do to knives is mind-boggling. So anyways, don't pry with it. Centering is perfect. And I mean, that's pretty much it for this one. So, you know, they come in at $300 retail, which isn't bad for a small run like this. You know, obviously you do not get these, you know, these double bolsters everywhere. Actually, you don't see double bolsters outside of customs, to be honest. And I think that was one of the stated intents with this knife, is he wanted to have features you don't get anywhere except on custom knives. But you know, 300 price point isn't bad to do the double bolsters and the carbon fiber. No voids that I've been able to see on this carbon fiber. And yeah, just a cool little knife. So I'm pretty stoked with it. Some of the feedback I've gotten from other Pharaoh owners were that they really like their models as well. But if you want something smaller that, again, doesn't feel super small, it's one you can take a look at and, you know, see if you like it. So anyways, I'm going to keep carrying and using this one. I don't have any plans to get rid of it in the slightest. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you're looking at this knife and you're thinking, I need something a little bit bigger, I mean, I guess you could go for this War Admiral cleaver. That should fit the bill pretty nicely. And aside from the satin one, he does have like a polished one right now. He's done a few really limited ones in herringbone Damascus, and you know, he's done, I think, some with like, you know, Damascus bolsters or something. He's done some pretty interesting like one-off pieces on his own. I think he's building a shop which has allowed him to do some of those really interesting one-off features. I know that he did do like the etching and polishing and stuff for the different materials. So anyways, hopefully we'll see more cool stuff from him. He might start doing more work on the knives that he's putting out. I haven't really talked to him about that, but if I had to take a guess, I'd say that's kind of one of his goals. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up and follow me on Instagram, also as Epic Snuggle Bunny, for more daily content. See ya.